Trayvon Martin, a 17-year-old boy, was full of life. He was passionate about football and loved airplanes. He dreamed of becoming a pilot or aircraft mechanic, but his life was tragically cut short. On the night of February 26, 2012, when Trayvon Martin was walking home from 7-Eleven, George Zimmerman, acting as a neighborhood watch captain in Sanford, Florida, spotted Trayvon walking through the gated community and pursued him. This is a section of the transcript of the phone call that occurred between George Zimmerman and the 911 dispatcher. Zimmerman, who was armed, began following Trayvon despite being advised by a 911 dispatcher not to pursue him. This is a photo entered as evidence that shows Trayvon Martin at 7-Eleven the night of his death, wearing a black hoodie, a piece of clothing that tragically became symbolic of the stereotypes and biases that contributed to his death. Zimmerman's decision to trail Trayvon Martin, coupled with his call to 911 dispatchers, labeling Trayvon as suspicious and up to no good, and identifying that Trayvon was black and in his late teens, set the stage for the tragic events that followed. As Zimmerman continued to tail Trayvon, an alleged confrontation began. George claimed that Trayvon attacked him, prompting him to use deadly force in self-defense. However, Trayvon Martin, 17 years old, unarmed, and carrying only a bag of Skittles in a Green Tea, Arizona, had no means to threaten Zimmerman. When the police arrived on the scene, Trayvon Martin was dead. The police did not charge Zimmerman, as Sanford Police Chief Bill Lee stated that they had found no evidence to disapprove George's version of events. George Zimmerman faced a high-profile case, but the court ultimately acquitted him of all charges. Philando Castile, a 32-year-old kitchen supervisor for the St. Paul Public Schools, was known for his humble nature and dedication to all the children that he served. Philando had worked at that school since he was 19 years old, and he was loved and known by all. On July 6, 2016, police officer Geronimo Yanez fatally shot him. Philando was stopped during a traffic stop in Falcon Heights, Minnesota. Stanford scholars remarked that the cause for the traffic stop was undeniably due to racial profiling. Officer Yanez stated he pulled Castile over on a pretense of a broken trail light. However, at trial, radio calls revealed that Officer Yanez said he was going to stop a car because two occupants looked like armed robbery suspects. Quote, "Driver looks like one of your suspects because of the wide-set nose." In the car with Philando was his fiancée Diamond Reynolds and her 4-year-old daughter Deanna. As Philando reached for his driver's license, he immediately notified the officer that he had a legally licensed firearm in the car. Officer Yanez warned him not to go for it or pull it out. Philando calmly replied that he wasn't going for it or going to pull it out. Diamond, Castile's fiancée, also assured the officer that Philando was not reaching for it. Moments later, Yanez shot at Philando 7 times close range. Diamond Reynolds captured this entire chilling aftermath of Philando's shooting, and in the video, you can see Castile's limp body, and you can hear her daughter screaming in the back, and you can hear her daughter pleading for her mother to comply with the police so that she won't lose her too. Trayvon Martin and Philando Castile's tragic deaths ignited grief and outrage across the nation. Their cases of injustice serve as sorrowful reminders of the systematic injustices faced by African Americans in society. Today, we will be analyzing the fear and mistrust African Americans have in the criminal justice system and its impact on the fear of government power. Good morning, my name is Imari Williams. When it is perceived that our criminal justice system, meant to protect and serve, isn't doing so, it can erode trust in government institutions, contribute to apprehension about government power. My research question is, to what extent does the criminal justice system impact the fear of government power among African Americans? My argument is the criminal justice system has a significant impact on the fear of government power among African Americans. The system is often viewed as unfair and discriminatory, with African Americans more likely to be targeted, arrested, and mistreated by law enforcement. This leads to a sense of distrust and fear of those in position, including the government. A survey of a representative sample of the population conducted by the Bureau of Justice Statistics revealed that African Americans were more likely than whites or Hispanics to be stopped by police officers. In this study, Black people are 63%, Hispanics 54%, any other race or ethnicity, including Indians, Alaskan Indians, were 51%, white people were 44%. Another study conducted by Johann C. Eckstad, a social scientist in psychology at Harvard, investigated the psychological impact of George Floyd's death, a case of police brutality that shook the nation. Using data from 2 population surveys, the study found that in the week following George's death, anger and sadness surged to unprecedented levels in the African American community. This study shows the significant impact George Floyd's death had on people's emotions. This is a poll conducted by PBS. In the poll, a population of 4,000 people were asked, how much confidence do you have that local police will treat black and white people equally? 6% of African Americans said a great deal, 25% of African Americans said a fair amount, 17% of African Americans said just some, and 48% of African Americans had little to very no confidence at all that their law enforcement would protect them and treat them equally. Due to the fear of government power, African Americans mobilized in civil rights protests to fight back against systematic injustices. This is a protest that occurred in New York, where protesters took a knee during a solitary rally for George Floyd, June 4, 2020. Confrontation on the Bridge is a powerful artwork created by Jacob Lawrence in 1775. It vividly captures a significant moment in African American history. This historic march took place in Salem, Alabama, where 600 protesters banded together to fight back against segregation. In this photo, the dog depicts the police brutality and the police going against them. And on the right side, you have African Americans banding together in unity to fight back against systematic injustice. Community trust in law enforcement has eroded, and there is need for change. And change, a policy reforms. A policy reform is a change or adjustment made to existing laws or regulation by government authorities. Efforts to address these concerns are essential for restoring trust and for fostering a more equitable and just society. Possible policy reforms include police accountability legislation, where police are held accountable for their actions against African Americans. Our community policing, where police officers come together in their community to foster and build back relationships. But there are limitations. As said by Ted Thomas and Ira Chalif in The Moral Courage and Intelligent Disobedience, organizational culture and operational pressures can sometimes cause the values of people to become blurred when the mission becomes more important than virtues. These can take us down the slippery slope of unjustified means. Good people and good soldiers can do bad things in this situation. Thank you.
All right, 2 questions for you. First up, how valid and reliable were the sources that you used, and then how do you know they were?
The sources that I used were very valuable. They came from professors at Harvard, and they were conducted very thoroughly. I know they were credible because they were used by lots of other credible institutions.
Okay, and what additional questions came up as you were going through the research process?
Additional questions that came up were, how can you stop this? Will this ever change? I pray this never happens to me. I have a sister who's brown. I have a father. I pray that I